Per reports from Josina Anderson, the Pittsburgh Steelers have re-signed cornerback Ahkello Witherspoon to a 2-year contract. Of course, Witherspoon, the cornerback they traded for early in the 2021 season, a fifth-round pick to the 49ers to get him to come to those Steelers. Witherspoon, an interesting ad, or I guess interesting returning player. He was a person that we talked about on the Locked On Steelers podcast a lot because of his contributions late in the season. Though early on in the year, he only got on the field for one or two plays against the Raiders, and it didn't go well because he got torched. But as the season went on, back by week 11, he was needed, and he stepped up to the plate seriously for the Steelers secondary. After that Raiders game, if you looked at his numbers since then, he was targeted 34 times, only allowed 16 receptions, and never allowed a touchdown after that Raiders touchdown. He also had 3 interceptions and 5 pass breakups on the season. An impressive way to close out a half of a year where he's learning what goes into the Steelers defense. So Witherspoon being back, it's a good sign for the Steelers, right? Because now they have 3 solid veterans that you could probably look at and count on to be starters in the secondary at cornerback. Witherspoon probably being your cornerback 1. Then you have Levi Wallace, who you brought in through free agency from the Bills. He's a cornerback 2. And you still have Cam Sutton, who you presume is going to be fitting into the slot corner position and can back up either Witherspoon or Wallace as the outside cornerbacks, which also allows you Arthur Maulet, who you also signed, to be a backup slot option. The Steelers now have depth at cornerback, which is something that you were probably questioning. Would that even be possible with all the different needs that they have? Kevin Colbert, once again, filling out the roster, filling out the depth chart with quality veterans, some guys bringing back, some guys adding new, but faces that people recognize, players that have good reputations, and making it so that the Steelers might not have those glaring weaknesses that we talked about going into the NFL draft. Once again, it looks like the Steelers are putting themselves in position to draft the best player available. But there is still an open slot, and that's, of course, the strong safety position. We'll be talking about that and who's still out there on the Locked On Steelers podcast and the host, Chris Carter. But either way, even outside of the strong safety position, getting back Witherspoon is an important get for the Steelers. And I wouldn't let that rule out the chance of them still taking a cornerback in the first round if one of the 3 players in Ahmad Sauce Gardner, Andrew Booth Jr., or Derek Stingley Jr. fall to them. I don't find it likely that Ahmad Sauce Gardner was, but there's been rumors and there's been mock drafts by national people who are draft experts who have let Booth or Stingley fall to the Steelers at 20. We'll see how that plays out, but either way, the Steelers will have an experienced cornerback room going into 2022, which will be important for the defense as it tries to reassert itself as one of the elite units in the NFL. We'll break this down with all our talk on the Friday episode of the Locked On Steelers podcast.